Welcome to the Any Given Day podcast, your ultimate destination for all things college football. Join your hosts, Hunter and Zach, as they dive into the thrilling world of college football from the perspective of the fans. From game previews to post-game analysis, they will bring you the latest news, insights, and stories that make this sport so captivating. Join them every Tuesday and Friday as they explore the traditions, pageantry, and unforgettable moments that define college football. So whether you're a diehard fan or just getting into the game, get ready for a wild ride with the Any Given Day podcast.
Hey guys, welcome into the Any Given Day podcast. I'm Hunter, that's Zach, and we're here. We're back with another review over the college football weekend, and I guess the first thing you kind of need to go and get into at this point, it's getting a bit monotonous with it, but a little bit more Michigan news.
Seems like we can't escape it.
Yeah, they apparently sources are saying, I say sources, rumors are swirling that they're fixing to rescind the contract they were fixing to offer Harbaugh that would make him the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. And he's trying to go and say, well, I don't necessarily think that's true. What's your take on it?
At this point, it's getting ridiculous. I mean, it's like they're just trying to distract from all this extra stuff that's going on, and they're just trying to do anything to get those headlines out of the news and get something else in the news. If this is serious and it is going to happen, I think there's a good chance that Harbaugh could be gone after this year, depending on how bad it is with what the NCAA finds. But
yeah,
other than that, I think this is just a throwaway headline to try and get the sign stealing stuff out of the news.
Yeah, I can see that. What he really needs to do, though, is he needs to shut up, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like you said. It's trying to get the other stuff out of the way, or it's trying to go and show the NCAA, hey, look, we're trying to handle this in-house. Please don't go and take our postseason away.
I don't think there's anything they can do that's going to save their postseason at this point. But
if they get it done in season, if they get it done before that starts, yeah, but I don't know. Part of me is starting to think they're going to hold off till after the season to dole out the punishment. And if they do
probably
that and say Michigan does actually win the national championship, and then you just wasted an entire season. And especially if you go and decide, well, we're going to take all these wins away and we're going to vacate that because you did this. Then
it's just tainted at that point, and then
yeah, it ruins
even
the
if
season.
they give the national championship to the team that loses to Michigan, then still it feels like a tainted championship because you didn't beat Michigan on field. And
if they were going to do this, then why didn't they just go ahead and ban them during the season?
Right.
It is what it is at this point. It is,
yeah.
Just come down with a decision already.
Right. I mean, you've got all the information. With all the information we have on X,
yeah,
the NCAA's got to have that plus a bunch more. I don't know what else they need to see to make a decision. I guess they're trying to be thorough and really giving Michigan a chance here before they just throw down the hammer, but it seems pretty blatantly obvious that everybody knew about it and it happened.
Yeah, it really does at this point. But, moving on, staying in the Big Ten, but to a different school, Iowa. It's come out that Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator and the son of the head coach Kirk Ferentz, will no longer be with the team after this season, which is probably godsend for most Iowa fans.
Hallelujah!
Because
I mean,
you look at the scoring offense under him, and just going back to 2021, he was Iowa had the 99th ranked scoring offense, and they decided to give him a pay raise. The next year, they drop all the way down to 123rd. And so far this year, they've been 120th.
I mean, there's only 130 something teams.
Yeah, it's been terrible. I honestly
Pathetic.
believe that if you had just I think you were saying this actually earlier. Somewhere between the 50th and the 80th ranked scoring offense,
Yeah.
they'd be good. You know, if you just had average offense with that smothering defense, they'd be a threat to win the Big Ten each year.
Right. But they're not.
No.
Hopefully this will be a godsend and they'll get a halfway decent offensive coordinator in there to actually run an offense instead of giving the coach's son the keys to a Big Ten offense.
Yeah, nepotism at its finest.
Yep.
He I don't know who's gonna hire him though. I really don't. Maybe one of the FCS schools, maybe. But daggone,
I wouldn't hire him.
I mean, maybe as a position coach, but that's it. I think he's blown his shot as a coordinator. It's just
Definitely.
it was bad, man. It was so bad. I do have a question for you. Moving on, I do have a question for you. So I'm going to give you 5 anonymous players. I'll eventually get the words out, right? And I'm going to give you their stat lines. And then you're going to give out a Heisman vote, who you think should win the Heisman this year, before you find out who they are.
Okay.
Okay, so player A has a 73% completion percentage. He has 2,462 yards, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 3 rushing touchdowns. All quarterbacks, by the way. Forgot to mention that.
Okay.
Player B has a 64.8% completion percentage, 2,109 yards, 18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 6 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
Player C has a 78.1 completion percentage, 1,799 yards, 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
Player D has a 68.8 completion percentage, 2,945 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and no rushing touchdowns. And then player E is a 78.3 completion percentage, 2,337 yards, 21 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Okay?
Okay.
So I've given out the stats for the people at home. And do comment who y'all think should win it. And I know you have stats already. So
yeah, if anybody's wondering why I'm looking over to the right now, I'm looking at the stats. I don't have the players' names, but I am looking at the stats.
Yeah. Who's your vote going to?
I mean, obviously, if you're just going by yards, right? Player D's got the most by quite a large margin with almost 3,000 yards and the most touchdowns, but the most interceptions and an awful completion percentage. I mean, second worst on this list at 68.
The legs either. No mobility. Maybe.
And no legs, yeah. If you're going overall, if you're going overall, like just best all-around player, I think it has to be player E. That really high completion percentage, good amount of yards, really good touchdown to interception ratio, 21 touchdowns, 1 interception, and some legs with 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
So I'd have to say player E. But before you tell me who they are, I would like to guess who everybody is.
Okay. Go for it.
Player A. Now this may be cheating a little bit because he is my favorite quarterback in college football right now, but that's Carson Beck.
Dang, you got it.
Player B. Jordan Travis.
Dang, you got it.
Okay. Player C, really good completion percentage. Second best on the list. Not great yards. Pretty good touchdown interception ratio. Give me a hint for C.
North.
North. Kyle McCord?
No.
JJ
Further
McCarthy.
north.
JJ McCarthy.
Ding, you got it.
Okay. That's
Heisman
awful.
favorite.
That's awful.
Yeah, I look at his stats. I'm like, how is he the Heisman favorite compared to player E? And it's not like player E's not in prime time either.
I mean, obviously JJ McCarthy, really great completion percentage. I mean, second best on this list. The yards just aren't there.
Yeah,
And a really good touchdown interception ratio too. Just the yards. The yards are not there. But he also runs the ball.
To be fair to him, I cannot believe I'm defending him. I still don't think he should be the Heisman favorite.
No, I don't think he should.
To be
but
fair,
it's not bad.
He's probably getting pulled in all these cupcake games that Michigan's playing right now.
Entirely possible. Player D. I mean, it's got to be Michael Penix Jr., right? With all those yards.
Ding. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Surprising he's got the most interceptions on this list, though.
Well, he struggled the past 2 games. You got to think about that.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think most of his interceptions have been these last 2 games.
At least 3 of them. If you take away 3 of those, I think he would probably turn into the favorite out of nowhere.
Yeah, the completion percentage is a little low for me. But with the yards, it's hard to complain. I mean, and they, up until the last 2 weeks, were killing everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So, and player E, again, cheating a little bit because he is my favorite non-Carson Beck quarterback. That is Bo Nix.
Very bodacious pick of you because it's accurate.
Has to be Bo Nix. I love Bo Nix. I hated him while he was at Auburn, but when he went to Oregon, I don't know. He took off that ugly blue and orange and got in that green, and it just opened my eyes.
Yep.
He's a really great quarterback. I don't.
Oh, he is.
He wasn't at Auburn. I don't know.
Well, he had 3 different coordinators in 3 years.
Which is, not his fault, obviously. But, I mean...
That's been his year development.
I mean, hashtag Bo Nix Heisman season, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, and...
I'm making a t-shirt.
Just go and get one of the Oregon Bodacious shirts.
That sounds fantastic. I'm wearing it on the next episode.
But
Goodness gracious.
I think you actually look at the stats between all 5 of these quarterbacks, and it shouldn't even be a question that Bo Nix should be the favorite to win it. I think he should be the odds-on Heisman favorite. Plus, you look at the competition he's actually had to go up against.
Been really good.
Yeah, he's been good in all of it. He's not the reason Oregon lost that game to Washington. That was some. And
Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning got a bit reckless.
Not just a bit. Don't defend him. It was egregiously reckless.
Yes, but no. So
it was egregiously reckless. All right. He's lucky. He's lucky he had a good game this week against Utah, or else he was going to get a call.
We will get into that game in a bit, but speaking of that, I guess we do have to go and start getting into the games this week. I think the first game we want to cover is NC State upsetting Clemson.
Is it really an upset though?
Yeah, that's why I did the air parentheses, man. Is it
really an upset? I mean, granted, it was a basketball school.
If you ask Steve Smith, they're still waiting on it.
Steve Smith, it's a basketball school.
And then if you ask Dave Doran, he's going to call you. He's going to tell you to kiss his ass.
Very mean word.
And let's just say it, man. Let's just say it. End of the day, that's what it is. He, and I quote, "Tell Steve Smith in that studio to kiss my ass."
I mean,
that was bad, man.
He's not wrong.
I can't believe he even said it on TV though.
No kidding. I mean, looking at the stats of this game, NC State just did a real good job of taking Will Shipley out of this game, and that is how you beat Clemson, is take Will Shipley out of the game.
Yep.
He is their most dynamic running back, and if you can take him out of the game, then
I'd say most dynamic player.
most dynamic player, definitely. So, I mean, Cade Klubnik, good lord, alliteration.
Is
Had
it
it-
really though?
Technically, it's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. Okay.
Fair enough.
Awful game. 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, 263 yards, 33 for 50. Granted, when you're down to NC State, I guess you have to throw the ball.
Yeah, 50 times. 51 times, technically. There was I think there was a trick play in there or something where they tried to complete a pass. Didn't turn out well.
Ridiculous.
What really stinks for Clemson, they're 4-4. I thought their floor at the start of the season was 9-3.
They may not get 6 this year. They may not get 6 wins.
They got to play They got to play Notre Dame next week.
They're not winning that game.
I don't think they are. And yet Dabo still seems kind of like, I'm not going to say content. I don't think the competitor in him is content at all, but he feels almost energetic and ready for next year. Like he can't wait for next season. He's not dreading
any better.
He's not dreading the end of this season. I guess he feels like that this is something they have to work through this year, and it will make them better next year somehow. That's the only thing I can guess. I don't know on it.
I mean, if you asked me, if you could pit any head coach in college football who should be on the hot seat right now, who would it be? And Dabo's on my short list. He's probably not the hottest seat right now, but he should be on the hot seat. He's not. He's never going to be unless Clemson magically goes 0-12.
I think he's 4th for me.
Yeah.
I think
he's not first, second, no, but he's that 3rd, 4th, 5th range. He's in my top 5, definitely, on who should be on the hot seat. He's not.
I think Lincoln Riley is number 1 for me if we're going that.
Yes.
Just because he refuses to get rid of the main problem.
We'll get into that later.
We will. I'm gonna. You're right. We'll get into that later because I'm gonna have to crack one open when we talk about that one.
Me too. But yeah, I mean, Clemson's season is just it's an utter failure by Clemson standards.
Yeah, it really is. But speaking about their next opponent, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
We don't really have stats for this one. It was a shellacking.
It's a big word.
Pitt they got whooped. They got shelled. 58-7. It was rough.
Yeah. Which I know we were talking before we started recording, but you know, oddly enough, Sam Hartman, no touchdowns and 2 interceptions in this game, and they still won 58-7.
It was so weird, man. I was looking at the stats, I was like, oh, there's a return for a touchdown. There's this rushing touchdown, there's this one. And Hartman, who started off the year so hot, right?
Yeah, it's like a Heisman contender. He has slowly moved out of that.
I don't think he's not even top 10 anymore for me.
No.
We saw I know I saw On3's top 10 Heisman contenders in their little ranking thing they got earlier today, and they had Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2nd. I don't know how to feel about that.
On what planet?
He's
a generational wide receiver, but
he's the best wide receiver in the nation this year, but he's not putting up, well, not just not this year, I should say, but talent-wise, he's the best overall wide receiver in the nation. He's not having a Heisman season, though.
Oh. I mean, look at his stats now compared to what Devontae Smith did whenever he won it, and they're nowhere close.
No. No, and that's just it. One guy they did have on that ranking though, low key, that I thought was actually a pretty sneaky dark horse candidate was Ollie Gordon II from Oklahoma State, running back.
Huh.
He had 270 something yards, right?
Holy crap.
On like 25 carries this past weekend. It was insane, man.
You gotta be careful with that, though. Ray Davis had 208 yards against Florida, and look where that went.
Well, to be fair, Florida's defense was just terrible. We'll get into once again. We'll get into
that later. You know who should be in the Heisman conversation?
Who?
Daijun Edwards.
I can see it. If
Elite.
If Georgia ran the ball a bit more like they used to, I could definitely see it.
It's not going to happen. He's not going to put up stats for it, but he's elite.
Yeah, he really is a great running back, but Georgia does the whole running back by committee now, so you're not going to have...
No, yeah, but...
I don't think they'll ever touch like the levels they did when they had Sony Michel and Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
that last year they were
Marshall there. Or that, yeah.
I'm not even talking about the freshman year. I'm just talking about that year they went to the national title game, because Chubb and Michelle were on a different level that year.
Yes, they were. There were two really great running backs in the same year, having put up really good stats. So very rare to see that now. Speaking of Georgia, though, of Georgia, moving on to Georgia Tech versus North Carolina. Now, whenever I last checked this game, North Carolina was winning. And we were going over the notes before we started this, and I went, whoa. Georgia Tech beat North Carolina? Nah, North Carolina's falling apart. I mean, Georgia Tech obviously wins 46-42. This is 2 weeks in a row. They've lost to two of the worst teams in the ACC.
Yep.
Granted, Georgia Tech's kind of coming on the up right now, but...
Georgia Tech is just... that. You look at all their stats, and it's so weird, right? And I'm not even talking about the individual player stats. I'm talking about the team stats. Like, you look at how many touchdowns they've scored themselves this year. They've scored 33. You know how many touchdowns they've allowed this year? 33.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this before. Once again, this is one of those things we were talking about beforehand. They have scored 254 total points. They've allowed 254 total points. They're averaging out to allowing 31.8 points a game while scoring 31.8 points a game. They're so weird.
Incredible.
It's incredible in the best way possible.
Yeah. Which I know you were telling me again before we were recording, but Haynes King, right? Georgia Tech has lost every game that he has thrown over 300 yards.
Yep.
And has won every game that he has thrown under 290.
Yep.
Which makes no sense at all to me. But he had a really good game. I mean, 23 for 30, 287 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and another 90 yards on the ground on 8 carries.
Yeah, it
really
was
good game.
It's Brent Key has them rolling. It's so like it's actually kind of. I kind of regret not recording that game just to watch it. I thought North Carolina was going to steamroll them in vengeance for last week.
Me too.
But no, it was.
Yeah, I mean, and just like we were talking about, Georgia Tech did not score a point in the first or third quarter. They scored 46 points in the second and fourth quarter.
Yeah, they really like even numbers too, because all the games they've won have been even numbers.
Games. Yeah.
So also take into account that game 10, an even number for them, is Clemson, and their 12th and final game obviously happens on Hate Week. Everyone knows who they play that week. The number one team.
Points, guys.
The current number one team in the nation. Let me preface that with current, because things could get switched up tomorrow, or
it will,
depending on
see
who
it.
Watch it.
Yeah.
recording on Monday, talking about tomorrow night, Tuesday, when the CFP rankings are finally
They come out
revealed.
at 3:30, don't they?
No,
They come out
that's
at 7?
7:30, something like that.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
I can't stay up that late. I'm old.
I'm older than you.
I know, but I feel older than you, and it's a
To
shame.
be fair, you do have 2 kids.
It takes some years off your life, brother. I'm telling you. I love them though.
You're
but
in
yeah,
that
I mean,
man coverage right now.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, Brent Key, he might actually be the answer for Georgia Tech. I mean, he's turned that program around. I mean, they're only 4-4 this year, but
Mm-hmm.
he has turned that program around, and they are doing very good considering the circumstances.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
it could be a very good year for them.
He made them go. They put up a fight against Georgia last year in Athens.
Yeah.
So, part of me is like, okay, well, it's still Tech, but another part of me, the fan of me is like, kind of worried. We got to go to Tech this year. All of a sudden,
Yeah. Just make sure. Hey, they just need to let Haynes King throw over 300 yards.
Yeah.
Just let him.
I mean,
Because then they'll lose the game
allows
somehow.
him to do that. I think Kirby
Georgia's going to allow him to throw like 180, and they're still going to find a way to fucking win.
I think Kirby would beg to defer on that, if we're being honest.
I'm sure he would.
He does not want to do that, but Drake May still had a pretty decent game, all things considered, in this game.
Yeah.
Back to the game. 17 for 25, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then 58 more on the ground with a rushing touchdown on 10 carries. Like he still put up a good game. But just Georgia Tech, man, at Tech, and those god awful yellow jerseys they had. I try to be unbiased. I cannot be unbiased to how ugly those jerseys were.
Speaking of jerseys, I got something to talk to you about after the last game.
Okay.
Some interesting news. I wanted your opinion on it. I saw it today.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
We'll talk about it later. I want your opinion on it, but we'll talk about it later.
Just check Game 6. Just check Game 6 in the notes real quick. I got something for you there.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. I see it there. I see it now. We will talk about this at Game 6.
Yes.
Moving on to Game 4, Louisville defeats Duke.
But before we get there real quick, I do also want to
go ahead.
Sorry, I know.
No, you're good.
I want to give a shout out real quick to Brett Seether, former Dog, over at Tech now. He got 2 touchdowns and the game-winning touchdown. And then also
Former
shout
Georgia
out to Buster Faulkner, who is the OC over there now, who was a analyst who worked really closely with
Georgia legend.
Yeah, who worked real closely with Todd Monken, learned from him, really helped him and Stetson Bennett on those championship years.
Yep.
So they got a good one there. They got a good one. If Brent Key can recruit the right guys,
they could win the ACC in a couple of years.
Tech could be on a resurgence.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll join the SEC.
We'll see. Georgia has to approve that first. Georgia's the reason they're not in the SEC right now.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to Game 4, Louisville versus Duke. Louisville obviously beat Duke. Now, you picked Duke with the caveat that Riley Leonard would be starting.
And he did start.
And he did.
And I lost. But I'm still 1 game ahead in the total standing, so first place still.
Barely. I'm coming for you. But yeah, I mean, I do wonder what would have happened if Riley Leonard didn't play last week, though, and re-aggravate that ankle injury.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Duke offense just could not do anything.
Yeah,
against Louisville.
Anemic. It was anemic. Yeah.
It was very anemic.
Nothing you can really do on that. It sucks. I think Elko kind of regrets putting him in last week, but they were in a fight or flight situation there. They had to.
Yeah, especially against Florida State.
Yeah, it was Florida State. You had a shot to win that game at one point with Riley, and then he re-injured the leg, and just from there it was nothing you could do.
Yeah.
Sucks, but is what it is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Jawar Jordan had a really good game, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 21 carries, 163 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, really, it's just a dominant win by Louisville.
Yeah.
There's really good game plan, really good game.
Yeah, they dominated the run game. Plummer didn't have to do much, especially when you have a running back that goes over 150 yards on the ground.
Right.
160 yards, my bad.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You want to talk about dominant wins. I don't necessarily consider they had them out, but our fifth game that we want to talk about, Texas did defeat BYU 35-6. I wasn't really that impressed with Malik Murphy. He had some throws, but there were some throws where it was like, what do I do here? Like, he had no clue sometimes where he was throwing, it felt like.
I mean, this may be a hot take, but I feel like if BYU had a competent offense, they would have been in this game and possibly could have gotten the upset.
Maybe.
Just BYU's offense couldn't do anything against Texas. So it was just kind of, no matter how bad Malik Murphy played, Texas's defense had his back, luckily.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, 16 for 25, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, then Jonathan Brooks didn't have a great game either. I mean, he had almost 140 yards total.
Yep. I
mean, between rushing and receiving, so it's not bad. I mean, Xavier Worthy had a punt return for a touchdown. That was about the highlight. This is about the highlight of the offense. So, I don't know if they get in some bigger games without Quinn Ewers and Malik Murphy's as a starting quarterback, it could be bad.
Yeah, especially next week because they play K-State.
Oof.
And which takes us to Game 6, already on Game 6, thankfully.
Thankfully.
And we will get to that little jersey thing here in a bit. Where K-State, they demolished Houston 41-0. It was dominance. It was a beatdown in every sense of the word.
Yeah, it was bad.
I
considering Houston almost beat Texas last week and then lays a goose egg against K-State, which does not bode well for Texas.
No, it does not. I mean, insult on the wound too today because Houston, like, first off, K-State could very much go. Now, granted, they have to go to Texas, but they could end up beating Texas, and I would not be surprised. Whereas,
right,
Houston's already getting salt rubbed into the wound because they got what basically amounts to a cease and desist. A cease and desist by the you want to cut in?
Sorry, folks.
No.
Sorry, folks. I got kids. It's okay.
No, it's all good.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
It's all right.
Like we were saying earlier, it's right now. Your wife is in zone coverage because you were out of the picture right now.
She's dragging my daughter to the bedroom.
Jesus.
She wanted to come out here and play with her toys.
Just tell her to take the toys with her. It is what it is.
It's fine. Regardless, back to what you were saying.
So, Houston University got a cease and desist from the NFL saying they are not allowed to wear the Houston Oilers colors anymore.
Yeah,
Because
this is what I wanted your opinion on.
they had the alternate jersey scheme. I had seen them earlier before the season started. I thought they were so cool. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. Just the NFL truly is the no fun league. They truly are.
It's a shame. I really like those jerseys.
Yeah.
There were some nice looking jerseys, but I get it. It's, if they're not paying the NFL for the rights to them or paying whoever they need to pay for the rights to them, I get it.
Well, here's the thing. It's a nod to. I disagree with that because it's a nod to the city. Tennessee does not wear those colors. They wore them Sunday for throwbacks, right?
Right.
But they can't just go and say, "Oh, we own these colors." I think if Houston actually took them, because they're not saying like they don't have anything that says Oilers on them. It's just the color scheme. So I think if Houston actually took them to court, Houston could win.
Yes, because I mean it would be like the Falcons telling Texas Tech to quit wearing red and black because the Falcons were red and black.
Yeah.
I mean
they're not.
I agree.
They're not infringing on the logos. They're not using the logo without.
No, it literally says Houston. It's just
baby.
It's powder blue and red,
and it's not to the city, since they're the only football team in the city now. If the Tennessee Titans still wore those colors,
whoa,
weekly.
Did you forget that the Houston Texans exist?
I might have.
Okay.
We are in dear Lord. My apologies, Will Anderson. Please don't hurt me. Not just him, but JJ Watt too. I know you're retired and you retired a Cardinal, but still, please don't hurt me.
Regardless, I get it. It's a nod to the city. And why should Tennessee? I get that the Houston Oilers moved to Tennessee and became the Titans, and they have that. It is their heritage. It is their team that used to be the Houston Oilers. But at the same time, the Houston Texans should be allowed to wear them because they're in Houston. Houston
Cougars.
I'm saying the Houston Texans should be allowed to wear them too. I know this is an NFL podcast, but they should be allowed to wear them. All right, it's Houston. All right.
Yeah. Fair.
And the Houston Cougars should also be allowed to wear a not even Houston Oilers jersey. It is literally a Houston jersey that is powder blue and red.
Goodell, man, he is. Granted, he's still not the worst. He's still not the worst sports commissioner. That is reserved for Manfred the clown. But he's going back up there quick and in a hurry with this kind of stuff. Which, to be fair, could just be a lawyer that got a little power hungry.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Who knows? We will see.
Game 7.
But
I think we.
Yep.
Just yeah. That's the.
Oh yeah, I needed that. Okay. USC versus Cal.
Where they survived Cal by a point, and Cal
went for a 2-point conversion instead of trying to play for overtime.
I think Cal,
which I get.
I think Cal could have beat them in overtime.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the decision, but I get going for it.
Going for the win?
Because they had already fought to that point, and they wanted, it's like, let's go for the win, and if we get it, great. If we don't, we play the heck of a game.
Their defense sucks.
Because Cal has nothing to lose.
Their defense sucks. I'm sure we can get this 2-point and win it right here.
Yeah. I mean, Cal had nothing to lose.
No.
I mean, they've already lost games this year. If they can take down USC, it's a great year for them. If they don't, they weren't expected to win anyways. So obviously it sucks to lose by 1 point.
Yeah. It's like you said. It's like you said, they had nothing to lose. And, I mean, they'd already had a protest at midfield that delayed this game.
Yeah.
Which was just... I don't even know what it was about. I don't care to know what it was about. But it was stupidity at its best.
Wow,
That-
USC stayed at 24 in the AP poll. Okay. I wanted to check that real quick. USC stayed at 24. They did not drop
Yeah,
after almost losing to Cal.
they should not. They're not a top 25 team.
No, it's 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah. If we're being honest, especially with who they've got to play over the next few weeks, it's bad, man. They got Washington, arguably the best offense in the nation, going up against this just anemic defense, terrible defense.
Terrible.
And then you've got
Anemic.
Oregon, who Dan Lanning was on that staff for Georgia that schemed up and found a way to stop Lincoln Riley's offense in the 2017 Rose Bowl while they were over at Oklahoma. So he knows how to handle that offense. Plus, he's got a Heisman caliber quarterback. Right?
Yes.
And then after those two, you got UCLA. And I'm sorry, I will take UCLA to go and beat USC right now. It's bad. It is really bad. They do not have a defense. And without that, until they fire Grinch and go and get a defensive coordinator, no. Just no.
Yeah. I mean, Caleb Williams didn't have a bad game. I mean, awful completion percentage. I mean, 23 for 40, but 369 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then 13 carries for, is that a typo?
No, that's
minus
13 yards. That's how he got sacked multiple times. Like, just
holy crap.
Just he averaged -1 yard a carry and still had 2 rushing touchdowns.
That's wow.
No offensive line, no defense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they keep trying to convince us, oh, Lincoln Riley's going to turn this team into a top 25 team. No, he's not. Because he refuses to get rid of Alex Grinch. Hold on a second.
Yep.
And he doesn't recruit that well defensively. And some people say, oh my gosh, he got a number 1 player on the defensive side of the ball at a defensive position. Doesn't mean jack to me.
Look how many, I mean, just 2 people off the top of my head on that defense who have basically disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Corey Foreman.
Yep.
A top player in the nation out of high school. I haven't heard his name at all year long. And Bear Alexander, obviously a top player at his position from Georgia, transfers to USC, and he's been the best player on their defense.
Yeah.
But he can't do it by himself.
No, he can't. He really can't.
Because everybody's double teaming and triple teaming him because he's about the only guy on that defense that's worth their salt.
Because he had a year of development over at Georgia on the defensive line by Trey Scott, who I would say is probably one of the best D-line coaches in the nation.
Looking at the amount of 3 stars from Georgia that have made the NFL. But I digress.
Jordan Davis, 3-star, turned into a first-round pick.
Devontae Wyatt, 3-star.
Yep.
Turned into a first-round pick. It's,
Yeah, semantics.
What do I know?
Anyways.
What do I know?
Just USC, they're not getting these guys on the defensive side of the ball for USC. It's horrendous, and they're not getting any development under Grinch or his portion of the staff. It's terrible. If Lincoln Riley wants to survive, he has to get rid of Grinch. And at this point, I'm pretty sure he's just like, oh, well, I'm just going to go and follow Caleb to the NFL. Do you think Caleb Williams is going to want you there, man? Because if you go up to the NFL and try to go and bring Grinch with you as a DC, no one's going to respect you. And no one's going to respect him. He sucks as a play caller.
No, he's not a great recruiter either. Great recruiting quarterbacks.
That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
And even then, I don't know if Julian Lewis would want to go there right now. If they keep playing like this.
I wouldn't either. But yeah, I mean, speaking of Oregon, though, They beat Utah bad.
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 Bo Nix, just standard Heisman numbers. Well, I say Heisman numbers. He had under
Good
250 passing
numbers.
yards, but he didn't need that many comparatively for this game.
No.
He had 248 yards on 24 completions of 31 pass attempts. He got 2 touchdowns,
Good game.
and then he had 1 more on the ground. Oregon whooped them. They
whooped them.
This was the first home loss, I believe, in 29 home games for Utah.
Really?
Home games, not games total.
No.
Home games.
Home games.
I know. I'm clarifying for the people listening.
I got you.
That's around about 4.5 years, maybe. So
wow.
Yeah. That's not including.
Granted,
I think it's 27, not including COVID.
I got you. That doesn't really count, though.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, if Utah has Cam Rising, I think this is a much closer game.
Obviously, but still.
But with Bryson Barnes at quarterback, obviously,
you're limited.
Almost a 50% completion percentage, 136 yards, 2 interceptions. Obviously, no offensive touchdowns scored in this game for Utah.
Yeah, it was. It's astounding, right?
Right.
Anyone who thinks that USC can go in and beat Oregon, at Oregon, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, no, it's at Oregon. I wouldn't even pick them if they were at Memorial Coliseum.
No,
it
makes it that much worse being at Oregon.
Yeah, that like we've said, that place only seats about 55,000, but that's still one of the loudest stadiums in the country because of the dimensions of it and everything. It was insane. I
agree.
USC's going to get killed over these last 3 games. I'm sorry.
Oh, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
I do have what may be a hot take. I don't know if it is or not, but
go for
it. Yes, USC games can be bad. That's not my hot take, though.
Go for it.
I think right now, you put Oregon and Washington on a neutral field, Oregon wins that football game.
Yes. So ever since that game, anyone who has actually looked at those games and watched those games, they can tell they are on 2 completely and utterly different paths. Oregon would kill Washington right now on a neutral field.
Yeah, Washington seemed to peak very early, and Oregon seems to be peaking late.
Yeah. Washington beat Stanford Saturday by 9 points. It wasn't that much of a difference. That was a last-minute touchdown. They were only up by 2 at some point, and then Stanford turned the ball over. Washington scored. Yeah. Stanford had every chance to win that game. It was bad.
It's a shame they didn't. But I mean, I guess we're moving on to Washington versus Stanford now. But
yeah.
I mean, Penix didn't have a bad game. I mean, awful completion percentage, 21 for 37, but 369 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception.
Well, that's what you're doing.
It was not a bad game.
Sorry. It's like
you're good.
It's like you said, not a bad game, but that's what you're expecting out of him. He's not going to have a high completion percentage, but it's going to be lots of big plays when he does connect.
Yeah. I mean, Jalen Polk, I think that's how you pronounce that. Jalen? I'm going to say Jalen. That's what I'm going with.
Jalen
Polk is what. Jalen?
I say Jalen.
Jalen is his name from now on.
Okay.
All right, listen. I've had enough with these weird names in college football. Name your kids normal names. Quit throwing apostrophes where there don't need to be freaking apostrophes in names. You want to call him Jalen? Name him Jalen. Regardless, really great game. 5 receptions, 148 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Really great game.
Yep.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce that next name.
Rome
Because
Odunze.
I'm going to butcher the last. Odunze. Pretty good game. 6 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown.
He's their top receiver.
Lot of yards.
Lots of yards.
And obviously that's why Washington wins a lot of football games. They got a really good offense, not a great defense. But Stanford,
Average defense.
average defense, not bad. It's not Florida levels of bad,
Yep.
but it's not great.
It's
either,
not
but
USC
Stanford.
levels of bad.
No, it's not USC levels. Nobody's USC levels of
No,
bad.
not even Florida.
Not even Florida. But I mean, Ashton Daniels,
Yep.
great game. Great game. I mean, 367 yards. I mean, he almost matched Michael Penix in yards in this game. Obviously, not as many touchdowns.
Yeah.
But, I mean, 18 carries, 81 yards, another 2 touchdowns on the ground. Much better completion percentage.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Elick Iomaner?
Iomanar.
Iomanar. I don't know. 9 receptions, 146 yards, 1 touchdown. Great game. Tiger. Bachmeier.
Bachmeier, yes.
10 receptions, 95 yards.
Who's going to name their
I'm going to have to listen.
Who's going to name their
I'm going
kid
to have to
Tiger?
get somebody in my ear to tell me these pronunciations like we're on a national broadcast, all right? Because
That's why I'm here.
I don't look at these names before.
That's why I'm here. I'm here.
Before the podcast.
I'm the voice. I'm the voice in your ear. I'm the voice in your ear telling you how to pronounce it.
I don't look at these names before we do this, and I start looking at these stats, and I guess, and I hope I don't butcher somebody's name.
Gosh.
Goodness, but it's like we were saying earlier. Obviously, Oregon, they've been on 2 completely different paths. Washington and Oregon since that game. Oregon's been dominant. Washington has struggled a lot in some close games since that game.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, if they want to be a playoff contender, they're gonna have to figure something out before this Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah.
Assuming everything goes the way we think it's gonna go.
Yeah. Speaking of playoffs and contenders, Georgia soundly defeated Florida. I know you're happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy too. They defeated Florida 43-20, and no, it wasn't as close as that score makes it out to be because 2 of those were garbage time touchdowns.
I mean, Georgia scored 27 unanswered
36
points. 36 unanswered, was that what it ended up being?
Unanswered 36, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Florida marches down the field on that first drive, and I'm sitting here thinking, holy crap, this is not going to be good. And then didn't allow a point until the 4th quarter.
Oh yeah, it was.
So
props to Florida for and Billy Napier, for a great first drive script. After that though, Georgia, they were able to get everything figured out that they needed to get figured out, and they dominated. And the game felt over. I'd say about midway through the
second quarter.
Yeah, second quarter on that 4th and 1, where they tried the direct.
That was the weirdest play I have ever seen.
Like, just run the ball, just run it.
Like, you take that QB sneak there, and I think you probably at least you were like 4th and half an inch.
To be fair, they piled up. That I don't know if it would have gotten it. If it was,
it would have been closer than whatever in the world they tried.
I think it was like supposed to be a pass play.
I think, but Georgia's defense is just too disciplined for that. So, like, everybody stuck to their man, and the running back was like, and Georgia's linebacker was in his face. He went, uh-oh. And then there was nowhere to go.
Because I do think it was in a pass play because ATN is left-handed.
Everybody ran out, and he started to look at it, yeah.
Yeah, he's left-handed, and he had that thing reared back like he was fixing to throw it, and he's like, oh, no.
Yeah, he starts looking downfield and then looks straight, and there's a linebacker in his face. He went, "Uh-oh."
Yep. This is the best the Georgia defensive line has looked all year.
Yeah, 4 sacks.
Yeah,
Really
just
good
the
game.
defense in general had 4 sacks. But yeah, the defensive line, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who's been out with an injury, he came in, he forced a fumble, which was just astounding to watch. I mean, he just, boom, right before Mertz could go and bring it forward, he knocked it right out of his hand, and it was on the ground.
Yeah.
Tackle saved it. Thankfully for Florida, the tackle saved it. Unfortunately for Florida, they then had to punt, and yeah, it was over from there. Carson Beck, 315 yards, 2 touchdown passes, 19 for 28. He's super efficient. He really is. He's on pace to break a school record for best completion percentage.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Beck's been really good.
Really, really good.
Which I was reading something the other day. I don't remember where I read it from, but some scouts, NFL scouts, are actually got him as about the third quarterback on the board now.
Yeah,
behind Caleb Williams and Drake May,
because he keeps
coming out of this draft.
He keeps winning up the numbers, man. He's got 8.
He's making NFL throws.
Yep, like that throw he had to Dylan Bell at the front corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
It was.
And that crossing route to Ladd McConkey, where he was rolling left and threw a sidearm to get it around a defensive lineman and hit Ladd McConkey across the middle. I mean, he's making some NFL throws, and
not just that,
it's incredible.
But, Brooks Austin, the film guy, he actually pointed this out. Ladd they asked Ladd about that touchdown pass he had, that touchdown catch he had, where he gets a ball where the defender is facing him and not the quarterback. So Beck and McConkey they're making eye contact at this throw, and where Beck placed it basically told where and how he placed it, basically told Ladd which way he needed to go from there.
That's incredible.
Yeah, apparently that's like a veteran concept in the NFL. And he's got that down with some of his wide receivers right now.
That's incredible.
It's insane. He's better than people think. I'd say he's he's easily the top processor in the SEC. I'd say he might be the top processor in the nation.
Whoa there.
Just when it comes to breaking down and processing the plays as they happen.
Bo Nix exists.
I don't know.
I will die on this hill.
I think Bo Nix is the better athlete overall of the two. Don't get me wrong. Yes. Don't get me wrong. Now that interception Beck threw last week, he more than made up for it. Or not last week, 2 weeks ago. He more than made up for it when he threw that tackle. He was willing to show, hey, let's go.
Yeah.
Like that dude ain't afraid of nothing. But Carson Beck looked great. Daijun Edwards, almost 100 yards.
Yeah.
It just Kendall Milton had over 50 yards. He had 55 yards on the ground. He's slowly starting to get more touches and more carries. And if he gets healthy, the combination of him and Daijun, that's going to be stupid. Like,
I agree.
It's going to be really stupid. Obviously, Ladd honky tonk McConkey conk.
Oh God.
It was there. I'm not sorry for saying that. 6 receptions, 135 yards, a touchdown.
I believe they said on the broadcast this was only his second 100-yard game at Georgia. It was the first one he's had since
I can believe
2021 against Missouri.
I can believe that for sure. But I think he's the most underrated receiver in the nation at this point.
I mean, with Brock Bowers out, he's showing exactly how important he is. I mean, this guy's going to be playing on Sundays. I know he's short. I know he's small in stature, but he's going to be playing on Sundays. He's just an exceptional route runner.
He will burn someone on a route if he's given a chance. I don't know how many times he's taken
absolutely.
someone's ankles on a double move. It's stupid.
It seems to keep happening. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. And it's not just him. It's Dominic Lovett, too. You know, he had 83 yards on 4 catches. And then Oscar Delp did his best freaking Brock Bowers impersonation. Like with that one-handed grab he had down the sideline on the wheel route. You know, the standard Bowers route. It's I will stand by this. Talent-wise, I think the most talented single room in any team in the nation is the Georgia tight end room. Between a fully healthy Brock Bowers, Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky, and last year, you had Darnell Washington in that thing too. So last year for sure. This year, I think you can make a few arguments with like Ohio State's wide receiver room.
I was fixing to say. I mean, if we're talking about any, like, not just tight end rooms, any rooms, I think Texas's wide receiver room's pretty good. Ohio State's wide receiver room's pretty good.
I forgot about Texas, actually. Yeah. I keep forgetting about Texas. Like, first Houston, now Texas as a whole. I'm just... I'm unworthy, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, as to not sound as homerish as I am in this game, Graham Mertz did not have a bad game.
No, he did not.
He actually had a really good game. He just got sacked. The Georgia's defense was getting pressure.
Yeah.
Even when they weren't getting a sack, they were getting in his face.
Yeah. Austin Barber, one of their linemen, was talked a bit of smack earlier in the week leading up to this one when he said, hey, they might be 24-0 over their last 24 games, but they still got to come and play us. And then he just got...
I mean...
Their O-line did not last well, or did not handle well.
I have an opinion on this. That's like, I get it. It seems, after the game, you read that and you're like, oh yeah, that's what you get, right? But you almost have to have that kind of mindset, right?
Yep.
I don't know if you should. I mean, if you don't have that kind of mindset going into a game, why even play it? If you go into the game going, God, we're going to get our butts kicked by Georgia, don't even go out there and play the game. You almost have to have that mindset going in and going, well, even though they're 24-0, they still got to come play us. We're good enough to beat them. You have to have that mindset, regardless of whether it's true or not. You almost have to have that mindset, because then you don't deserve to be out there if you don't. If you go in there thinking we're going to get beat, then there's no point in you even playing the game.
And that's a fair statement. The only thing I will say is, you would think after all these years with Kirby Smart being from the Nick Saban program, you would think with Billy Napier being from the Nick Saban program that he would warn his players, do not say anything disrespectful to Alabama or Georgia, because they will propagandize it. Kirby especially. Yeah.
Should he have said it to a reporter? Absolutely not. Should he have that mindset? Yes.
Mindset, yes. He should not have said it in the press room, at the press conference room.
Definitely not.
All those reporters.
Having the mindset is not a bad thing.
No,
you should not voice that opinion.
When you're fixing to play Georgia, no. Wait until after that game.
You're playing Missouri, maybe.
Maybe.
Playing South Carolina, definitely. Vanderbilt. Yeah, you can come and say that. You're playing Georgia, you keep that to yourself. You have that mindset, you keep it to yourself.
And one other thing. What was Dan Mullen thinking?
I don't think Dan Mullen thinks.
No, he doesn't. He's a clown.
I think he picked spews.
He picked Florida. He picked Florida to upset Georgia, which I get in a weird way. I get, because of how this rivalry game plays out so often. I don't know how many times I've seen one team or heard of one of these teams upsetting the other when they were like one of the top teams in the nation and they were fighting for a national championship. And then that ends up being their only loss, and it somehow costs them the national championship. It's stupid and it's absurd how often it's happened. But anyone with a brain could have.
I agree.
Sorry, go.
No, I agree.
Yeah, anyone with a brain could have said Georgia's going to win this one, and it's probably going to get ugly.
Right. No, I agree. 1,000%.
Yeah.
But talking about having that mindset of you got to come play us, Kansas had that freaking mindset against Oklahoma. They didn't care Oklahoma was undefeated and the 6th ranked team in the country. They said, you got to come play us. And by God, they won that football game 38-33.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Lance Leipold, man. He is. There ain't no loyalty in this industry at all when it pertains to coaching. He's going to be, I would argue to say, the top candidate. Him and Mike Elko will be the top candidates in coaching free agency, in the coaching carousel this year. I think
the real question is, do one of them take the Michigan State job, or is it such a bad job that they both say no?
If I'm them, I tell Michigan State, sorry, I ain't touching that job with a 20-foot pole.
I'd rather stay at Kansas or Duke than go to Michigan State.
Yeah, because you're building something there. Yeah. And you don't have the same, bad history that Michigan State's department does. If that Michigan job opens up, maybe you go to Michigan then. But
depending on how bad the punishment is.
Depending, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe USC if Lincoln Riley leaves. I think if Lincoln Riley leaves, USC needs to go after Lance Leipold.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you imagine
couldn't hurt
the damage he could do there.
A lot of damage. Holy crap! Dylan Gabriel had an awful game.
Oh yeah, I mean, better on the ground. He's a better running back than quarterback this week.
Yeah, and the running back still ran for 146 yards.
Yeah. Gabriel got most of the touchdowns.
Yeah. 3 on the ground. Good Lord. I mean, Kansas just stuck it out. They played tough. Their defense really stepped up. Their offense did what they had to do to get the win, and somehow still got the win with their quarterback throwing 2 interceptions.
Yeah. Jason Bean wasn't exactly the best through the air. Like, when he connected through the air, they made it count. But he was much better on the ground, I think.
Yes.
Much more dominant run game this week. Much more dominant run game for Kansas this week. They punched them.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good game by Kansas. Like I said, I mean, they went in there with that mindset of, you got to play us. You can't just, we're not just going to lay over because we're Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they did good. They went in there, beat number 6 team in the nation, and now the Big 12 is up for grabs for anybody at this point.
Yeah, and
especially with Quinn Ewers out at Texas, it's kind of a crapshoot now.
Yeah, and I agree on that, and I would think they're probably out of contention for a playoff spot at this point.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. I think it would take a miracle for them to get into the playoff. One of those teams to get into the playoff. It was not a good game this week. For Oklahoma, that is. And speaking of playoffs, I don't know when this will be posted on YouTube. Hopefully sometime Tuesday morning, if not late Monday night, depending on once editing and all that stuff gets done. But Tuesday night is going to be the first CFP committee playoffs or top 25. So I want to hear your top 6, and then I'll give you my top 6. And I'm talking the 4 teams in the playoff and the first 2 out.
I'll give you my top 6, and then I'll give you what I think the top 6 will actually be.
Oh,
Um,
I still gotta give mine now.
my top 6 after this week should be Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. Oh, who's 5 and 6? Probably Washington at 5 and Oregon at 6
Okay, so Georgia, Michigan, Ohio
would
State,
be my
Florida
top
State.
6. What it's probably gonna be, would be my top 4.
Mm-hmm.
What it's probably gonna be is probably gonna be either Michigan or Ohio State at 1, and whichever one's not at 1 is gonna be at 2. Georgia's gonna be at 3, Florida State at 4,
Mm-hmm.
Washington at 5, and somebody else at 6. It's not gonna be Oregon.
Okay. If I had to go with my top 6 right now, I would say I would personally put Georgia at 1 solely, and I know Georgia fan putting Georgia at 1. They're still the champs. End of the day, they've not been beaten in a year and a half. So
Right.
to be the man, you gotta beat the man. No one's beaten them yet. They're still number 1, especially with that win over Florida. I think that should solidify it. I could see where someone puts Ohio State at number 1. God forbid they do that, because then Kirby Smart's got all the propaganda in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where they put them number 1 because of their resume and all that, and because of that, I have them at number 2. I'd say Florida State at 3, and then at this point Michigan at 4, and I would put Florida State over Michigan. I'd put Florida State at 3, Michigan at 4, because Michigan's schedule has been so much easier than it's been what we thought it has. Whereas, and before anyone says, "Oh well, Georgia's schedule is super easy too," Kentucky became a ranked team. Granted, they're not ranked anymore, but all of a sudden you're fixing to have to play a 7-1 Mizzou, a 1 or 2 loss Ole Miss.
2-loss Ole Miss.
2-loss Ole Miss and a 2-loss Tennessee. As of this point, now granted, things could change.
And a good Georgia Tech team too.
And an actually decent Georgia Tech team. So yeah, I'm comfortable in those 4 picks, and then I would have, at this point, with how they've played over the past 2 weeks, I get why Washington will be over Oregon in some spots, but I think Oregon should be 5, Washington 6.
I could see that. I don't think it'll happen because Washington
beat Oregon,
but and Washington's still undefeated. Oregon's got that 1 loss. That's why I don't think the committee will do that. Obviously Oregon's played better, but that 1 loss to Washington is going to stop them from moving them any higher than Washington, I think.
Agreed.
But obviously we'll find out tomorrow.
And like I said, this is what I think. That does not mean that's what's going to happen.
Right.
Is what it is. Well.
But yeah, I mean, you got any closing thoughts before we?
Peach and blackberries actually go pretty well together. Yeah. Other than that, I'm good. Drink your water, people.
Well, good Lord. We will see you guys on Friday.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Any Given Day podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. You can find us under the name Any Given Day Podcast. Stay updated with our latest episodes and insights. And don't forget, the next episode will be out Friday, where we will preview some of the big games coming up this weekend. Until then, keep the spirit of the game alive. And remember, in this sport, anything can happen on any given day. See y'all on the next play.